Okay, so WWE and Fox have just posted on their Twitter a very interesting conversation starter. The Mount Rushmore of NXT, not just WWE. And it got me thinking, for me, until the rebrand to NXT 2.0, which I think has just been hot garbage, some good matches, but it's just not for me. Up until the end of the Black and Gold, for me, it was my favourite wrestling show to watch, right from the beginnings of Full Sail, back when we went introduced to Seth Rollins, Big E, Paige, Emma, people like that at the very first time. This was my favourite show. Um, so I feel like having sort of watched from the start, I can sort of comment on who I think are the Mount Rushmore. Um, Obviously, whenever people talk about the Mount Rushmore WWE, they're talking about the biggest stars. But for me, I think that when you think of the Mount Rushmore for NXT, you have to think of the most sort of influential people throughout the brand to bring it to where it is today. Um, so for me, first and foremost, it's got to be Bailey. I think seeing Bailey being the first true um, performer that's come from the sort of first adaptation of a character to then finding what makes them their character to evolving to another step and then creating a revolution in the women's division. Now, yes, she had her great dance partners. She had Sasha there, two of the greatest women's matches of all times. Charlotte was there, Becky was there, Dana Brooke, Emma, Nia Jax, Asuka, great dance partners, but the biggest thing in common was Bailey. And I think that if you watch the show Breaking Ground on the WWE Network, you see how much, one, she absolutely loves the business, and two, when she became the NXT Women's Champion, she didn't make it about herself. She would do every NXT live event and she would spend time coaching in ring, giving pointers to who we see now in the main roster. Aaliyah, who was Noof in the Breaking Ground series, Liv Morgan, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, all top stars, all been champions in WWE now, and they all came from Bailey. So for me, that's where we start. Second one there is the Revival. Now, betterly known now as FTR, I think that if you look back on the greatest tag team matches in NXT history, every single one of them has involved the Revival. At first, we seen American Alpha finally beating them. They had matches with obviously the great matches with DIY. They had the Vaudevillains as well, if you remember those guys. But they just fought like every tag team there was. The Revival was the best one, and they definitely revolutionised tag team wrestling in NXT. Went to the main roster, they're one of the few tag teams, I think maybe there's only 2, 3 possibly, who are tag team champions on NXT, SmackDown and Raw. Obviously they've now been New Japan champions, Ring of Honor champions, AEW tag team champions. So their legacy speaks for itself, but for me, I think that when you talk about the Mount Rushmore, the Revival have to be on there as well. Now, the next two could be so many people, but I think we have to look at it in sagas of the beginning of the Black and Gold and then the level that it went to. Tuesday Night Wars, Wednesday Night Wars, stuff like that. So for me, the next one is Finn Balor. He was the first true big acquisition for NXT coming from New Japan, where he was very much in line to continue to move up. He was a multi-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. He was then moving up. He was having matches with Tanahashi, Okada. He very much could have been, another big name there, but got the chance to come to NXT, and I think that he elevated NXT to a level that I don't think they expected so soon. And then, with him being an established star, um, I'd say that he elevated, but then much like Bailey, he had great dance partners. There was Tyler Breeze, there was Tyson Kidd, there was Neville, there was Sami Zayn, there was Kevin Owens, there was Samoa Joe. Just all these fantastic performers. They put on title match after title match, weekly, weekly, weekly. House shows were getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger for NXT. And then they could bring over to NXT Takeover London. They had NXT Takeover Toronto, Portland, all these different places. I think wouldn't have been possible without the acquisition of Finn Balor. The way he carried himself as a champion, being a champion for pretty much a year, and then from there, it just carried on. When he left NXT, it felt like a huge loss, but everybody stepped up. And then, an opposite to that, when he came back for his second run in NXT, it felt massive. Like, genuinely felt massive. Came in there and joined the new crop. You got Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly, and then the next man that I believe should be on the Mount Rushmore, Tommaso Ciampa. This guy turned up. I think he had a couple of shows before the Cruiserweight Classic, but came to the Cruiserweight Classic, put on an absolute, just unbelievable matches when he was in there. Especially the match of the Johnny Gargano, which straight away showed the NXT audience that these guys could make magic. He then goes on to NXT, few matches by himself, but starts to tag with Johnny, and before you know it, the entire NXT crowd falls in love with them both. And they then kind of culminate with matches against the other Mount Rushmore faces of the Revival. Their tag team title win in Toronto is still one of my favourite moments in NXT history. I don't think it's really been topped, to be honest. The level of crowd involvement, the emotion, the feeling, the excitement when they finally won was absolutely outstanding. And I truly believe that he didn't think it could get better than that, and then Tommaso turns on Johnny and just becomes, the psycho killer, the bad guy, just the worst guy in NXT. His character development was insane, and I don't think anyone else at that point could have made their entrance at a takeover to zero ring music. It just walked out to just boos, just a chorus of boos. Again, one of the coolest moments in NXT. Just one of the best bad guys there could have been. Unfortunately, he got injured, and it derailed a lot of his confidence and his momentum. He does return from that neck injury, which, unbelievably fortunate to do so. Comes back and has some great matches once again with some of the new breed. Karrion Kross, Keith Lee, when they first started to bring in Braun Breaker, guys like this. So he's gone through a couple of sagas of NXT, and I think when he left NXT 2.0, it was very much, that was the moment where NXT changed forever. I may have been slightly overly critical of NXT 2.0, but it's just not been for me. But I have seen some great matches, and especially now where it's sort of changing again, a bit more attitude with the Gallus boys, Creed brothers until they left recently. I think Tiffany Stratton is absolutely unreal. I thought Zoe Stark came up a bit prematurely. Carmelo Hayes is truly unbelievable. Trick Williams is underutilised for his character. Braun Breaker, Grayson Waller, just Tony D'Angelo, who I think is wasted in the storyline just now, but we'll leave that for another time. So to finalise, what I'm saying is my Mount Rushmore for NXT is the role model Bailey, one of the best tag teams in the world, the Revival, Finn Balor, who's one of the best wrestlers in the world despite any storyline he's ever in, and also Tommaso Ciampa. And now I know Mount Rushmore is 4, but we'll squeeze the 2 heads in for the Thanks for watching. Cheers, bye.